Okay, John, there's a video that I saw that I have to ask you about. It was a clip from, I think it was Good Morning Football with Cam Jordan. He says that if healthy, this Saints team is a top two. So I love Cam Jordan,
Mhm.
and I honestly kind of respect that level of delusion. What was your reaction to him saying that?
Well, look, I've covered Cam many years, right? And so I think he's, first of all, a heck of a player, heck of a guy
Yeah.
in the locker room. And look, this is no different. Cam always talks about stuff like this, right? Like I think it was a couple
Yeah.
years ago, we can win the Super Bowl. Why not us? All these different things. And so injuries hurt him last year for sure. The
Hmm.
thing is, for this team, yeah, being healthy is one thing, but also when you peel back the layers of some of their wins last year, they haven't beat a superior team. Like they haven't beat a team that's better than them record wise or just overall.
Exactly.
And so that's the litmus test for me is can they beat somebody that's actually better than them? Not the division opponents or anything. Can you go in this year, beat a Buffalo? Can you beat a up and coming team like a Seattle
Yeah.
Seahawks? Can you beat the Rams? Can you do all these other things? I think that's the biggest question mark for me is I feel like they can beat up on the lowly opponents, which last year they
Hmm.
only won 5 games, so that's a easier hill to climb to try to get over 5 wins. But for them, it's just about going out there, play, being consistent, and
Yeah.
I believe they can win the division. But last year everybody jumped on the Atlanta train. I was on Tampa. I was like, nobody's
Mm.
going to Tampa. I definitely go back, check writing, all that stuff. I picked Tampa, and it was just one of those until they're proven otherwise. I don't think anybody's taking that from them. And the first step is winning your division. First step is getting there, and Saints haven't been able to. Atlanta hasn't been able to, and for all
Mm.
intents and purposes, people are looking at them like they're at the bottom of the division, and some of that could be fair.
Yeah, my reaction was like, is the top two team in the room with us right now? Or is so where would you rank these teams right now? Obviously, things could change after the draft, but as of right now, like where do you rank these teams in the division? Are they the clear last team? What's their ceiling within the division?
Yeah, look, I mean, I still think Tampa's at the top.
I
Atlanta, I think
It's
has
hard to
a lot
say
more.
anyone but Tampa.
Yeah, I think they're well coached. I think Baker Mayfield's
Yeah.
playing well. I think him and Mike Evans, their run attack, all these different elements, and their defense is extremely strong and competent. So I don't think anybody's taking it from Tampa. Atlanta, I don't know. What is Michael Penix Jr. doing his second year? Can they figure out better ways to use Kyle Pitts? Can they figure out what they're doing with Kirk Cousins? Because I think if they could trade him, get some more capital, it could help their defense, help them in a lot of areas. But their defense was not good last year. And so I think that's the
Mm.
biggest disappointment for them. Carolina, look, after the Bryce Young fiasco, they turned back to him. He does extremely well. I think Carolina's an ascending team. I'm not going to sit here and say
Yeah.
they're going to win the division, but I do think at this point, they might have a little bit more upside than New Orleans
Hmm.
does because New Orleans is kind of this mystery team where it's like, yeah, they could be decent. They could also not be good. I mean, first year head coach, you don't know what to expect. They could play extremely well and shock some people. They could also come in and it's all in disarray because injuries and their older roster, all these other things. And so, look, I think for them, I don't see anything over 7 wins right now. 7-10
Okay.
is probably the highest I would like to go with them at
Okay.
the moment. So it could change, but I'm not going to base that off of what I see in training camp, what I see in the preseason. I'm going to see what team shows up in the first 2 months, and then probably say,
Mhm.
okay, then I feel a little bit better about where they could finish.
What would be considered a successful season for the Saints this year? Because I don't think they have Super Bowl aspirations. Anyone except maybe Cam Jordan. But is this just looking ahead more so to next year and getting some of the pieces in place for this season? Like what would be considered a success from right now to the end of the season?
Yeah, I think for me, it's are you in the games, right? Like I could
Okay.
take them finishing 2-15 if they're in every single game, a one-score game. I look at the Lions, like for instance, Dan Campbell had established the right culture, the right people, the right
Mhm.
coaching staff, and they were in a lot of games. They didn't win them, but they bought into the culture, they bought into the program, and they kept chipping away at it. And look what happened to the Detroit Lions. And so that's what I want to see out of the Saints is a competitive team week in and week out. Not I'm playing from behind, I'm down 3 scores, and are you in the game for 4 quarters? And can you close out some games and get some wins that maybe you shouldn't have? I think that's a big thing for me is to try to find out can they do that, right? And so for me, a successful season would look like that and ascending at the end of the season. So I could take some
Mm.
early season struggles. Look at last year, 2-0. Everybody thought they were going to win the Super Bowl, stamp the ticket, and then it just all went to everything into the wayside. And they did it the previous year. They started 2-0, and so I'd almost rather them see it go 0-2 to start the season. But I want to see them finish better than what they have been too.
Okay, okay. And you had mentioned that Derek Carr, he will be the starting quarterback week 1. Who will be the starting quarterback in your gut week 18?
That's a good question. I mean, it might be Carr, but again, they didn't win a game without him last year, and they're very well aware of it. I do like what the concept of Spencer Rattler doing. Depends if they're in a playoff race or not. I'd lean maybe it's Derek Carr, but I'd probably say at this point maybe it's Spencer Rattler that's going to end up being starting that game.
John Hendrix, you said it all. Thank you so much for joining us today, and you're welcome back anytime.